Good morning.
Commissioner, how are you doing?
Good.
Looks like I have you and Commissioner Adams. I haven't seen Commissioner Marywood yet.
He should be driving up the hill somewhere.
Yeah.
To make his home fixing.
Or standing on top of his home.
Sitting on the roof or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, or do we just go ahead and open the meeting to public conduct? There it is.
Hello. Okay.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the mayor boys on the line?
Yes, we got Commissioner Marywood online and then, or on the phone. Commissioner Adams is present in the room.
Why don't we go ahead and call the meeting order at this time? Time is 10:03, and two of the commissioners are, one is on Zoom, the other one is phone conference, and Mr. Adam is present at the county office. So welcome. I didn't print the agenda. If you can post it, minimize it, so I'll be able to follow the.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. Okay. Roll call, I already determined that 3 commissioners are present. I'd like to invite vocation by Juan. By Tree. You there?
Yes, I am here, Trey.
Can you provide the opening prayer?
All right. Viva. Our Heavenly Father, we bow before you once again on this special day that you set aside for us to have our little meeting to discuss certain things for our community members in San Juan County. Give us guidance that we make a decision and guide us a direction where there is plentiful and where things are safe for our community, our workers, our people. Kutaban ano kanto this suggest hot to get your 80 get off by. I don't ask for the yacht bill, the heart in Lado as the list. Even ano kanto the Yenta has state or this you get that size tuning the next it's a house state or this. He asked for that benefit for Donald Snake, for Donald Snake, for Donald Snake, for Donald Snake.
Yeah, proceed to community public comment section. Is there any on the line? Mr. McDonald?
So let's see here. Yeah, let me get everybody in here. Okay, so for those of you wishing to make a public comment, we don't have a lot of members of the public here. Just raise your hand on the chat feature and we can get you in. Let me see if there's anybody on. Nobody in the video that has their camera on that's raising their hand. Nothing here, Commissioner. Looks like go ahead and.
I got something.
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on. We've got TJ Adair from our road department.
So Commissioners, this is on behalf of item number 10 on your agenda. We have some employees of the San Juan County Road Department that would like to request that before any definitive decision is made on the employee bi-weekly payroll shift, that an informative meeting be held with county employees to let us know how these changes will affect us. We'd like the opportunity to ask questions and voice any concerns pertaining to this policy change. And they sign it. Thank you for consideration of this matter. And I've provided a couple of the things here for the commissioner that's present. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let me see if there's anybody else. I don't see anybody else. Okay. That's it right there, Commissioner.
Okay. Go ahead to next item, which is consent agenda items.
Okay. Just as a reminder, all of these
Reading.
agenda items. They'll be all voted on one vote. If you want, I can go through and just read the whole entire agenda first and then come back and go through.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay. Let's see. So under the consent agenda items, you got the first one, the April 6, 2021 commission meeting minutes. Number 2, you got the check registers for March 31st, 2021 through April 6, 2021. Got the Cal Black participation agreement with the State of Utah Department of Transportation in San Juan County. Number 4, approval of the non-federal reimbursable agreement between San Juan County and the Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration for a flight inspection of the Cal Black runway for $23,347.44. You got the approval of amendment number 3 to the San Juan County contract with Javiation, a Woolport company, for engineering services for the pavement maintenance project at the Cal Black Airport. Item number 6, approval of the contract to provide bailiff services for the 7th District Court of Juvenile Court and Juvenile Court. And then number 7, aging second year of a 4-year plan. Number 8, approval of the small purchase of $7,131 for the purchase of a remote fire equipment. Under recognitions, presentations, and informational items, you have the number 9, Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands update and presentation. Number 10, the discussion on the employee payroll shift to bi-weekly payday presentation. This will be by Anne Marie. Number 11, America Rescue Plan Act presentation. This also will be provided by Anne Marie. On number 12, you got the Victims of Mill Tailings Exposure Cancer Screening Program approval and support letter. I'll provide that presentation. On the business action items, number 13, consideration and approval of the Flatiron Mesa Ranch. And then number 14, consideration and approval of the Flatiron Mesa Ranch phase. So these are 2 phases on there. And then you've got the consideration and approval of an amendment 2 of Lot 38 San Juan Estates. These all 3 will be provided by Scott Burton, our subdivision administrator. Item 16, approval of a resolution indicating support for the Moab and Spanish Valley Regional Transportation Plan. Item 17, consideration and approval of a quitclaim deed transferring alleys of the town of Bluff, Utah from San Juan County to the town of Bluff. Item 18, consideration and approval of a quitclaim deed quitclaiming a 0.08 acre parcel of county property to the city of Blanding. And then item 19, and under the Board of Equalization, you've got consideration of 2 separate property tax abatements for Michael Anthony Bullock. And that one, I believe, is John David, our clerk auditor. That, Commissioner, is your agenda for today.
Okay, thank you. Going to consent agenda. Any motion to adopt or approve?
So first we'd need a motion just to approve the...
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, and also like to move for discussion only. There's a couple of questions that I have on some of the items.
So your motion is to approve the minutes?
The meeting minutes?
So do you want to take all of the consent agenda items in place for discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes. And then on the discussion items, there's 2 items that I have a question. So if you want to consider that as a approval of a motion, that's up to you, but I'm only making a motion to approve the minutes because I have a question for item number 2. I don't know what that is. I need to know a little bit more. And then under the presentation and information items, we just barely heard on the item number 10. So I'd like to discuss those two before we make any approval.
Okay, I'll go through and describe all of those. If you're okay with the agenda, then I'll go through the consent agenda items and describe each one in full before we proceed. That'll help you.
Okay.
Okay,
So we just need a motion
there's a
to
motion to approve the minutes.
the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
All right. Any question? There has been already a statement raised by Mr. Barrymore to approve, but it will be registered. So with that motion and second, any others? If there's no comments, then we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. Opposed, 0.
Okay.
So the agenda is hereby accepted or approved.
Okay.
Now going back to the agenda item number 1, consent agenda.
So on the consent agenda, you have the following items. You have the April 6th, 2020 commission meeting minutes. Item number 2 is the check registers. This is for March 31st through April 6th, 2021. This is just all of the bills and payments that have been made throughout that period. We provide in each commission meeting just kind of a log of our expenditures so that all of our expenditures in the county here are open and transparent with the public. This is the means that we do that. Then on item number 3, the CalBlack participation agreement with the State of Utah Department of Transportation and San Juan County. The State of Utah acts as the go-between between the FAA and our CalBlack Airport renovation project. They're the ones that help oversee kind of boots on the ground with the project and are a pass-through for funding. We do this with several other agencies as well, where the county acts as a pass-through. But in this circumstance, the department or the Aeronautic Operations Division of the State of Utah Department of Transportation does this for us. We have the grant of $2,977,470 of that rehabilitation runway project that will be taking place, and they are kind of the overseer of the expenditure of the funds with us. The next item, number 4, is the approval of the non-federal reimbursement agreement between San Juan County and the Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration for a flight inspection on the CalBlack runway for $23,347.44. Once the project is completed, once they had the runway renovated and the lines painted and the asphalt all leveled, we do need to have an inspection. We have to pay the FAA to come out. They will fly out and do a inspection, kind of a flight inspection, as well as a landing inspection. of that project. And just as a reminder, last week, Commissioner Maryboy had, or not last week, but last commission meeting, seems like they're weekly. Last commission meeting, Commissioner Maryboy asked the question of how many touches take place out at Cal Black. What's the utilization? We have a report that's being produced and given by our airport operator. He'll be turning that in. But when I spoke to him earlier last week, he had mentioned that they get about a plane, 2 planes a day. It just depends. It doesn't give a passenger count on there, but he says it's a fairly active airport, surprisingly so. That just kind of added information back to the question that was answered or asked in the past. On item 5, you got the approval of amendment number 3 to the San Juan County contract with Javiation, a Wolpert company for engineering services for the pavement maintenance project at the Cal Black Airport. In order for our consultant, Javiation, to receive the engineering and design fees and services, we had to amend their contract. Their contract has been with the county since 2016. This helps us get through kind of the capital year plans as well as the design implementation of the project. So this kind of makes their contract whole with us. This is something that's reimbursed through the project as well. And so it's kind of where we're more of a pass-through to them. They work in behalf of the county for that project. And so we wanted to make sure we had their contract in order so that we can get those funds to them through the project, have everything legitimate. On number 6, the approval of the contract to provide Bayless services for the 7th District Court and Juvenile Court. This is for a contract for $19,192. The sheriff, they provide bailiff security and perimeter security, as well as they could be called upon to provide in-court security, kind of when as needed when the courts are in session. So the courts provide this. Well, they ask for the service and they provide it. They pay us for those services that we render to them on that security. On item 17, you have the aging seven, sorry, not item 17, but it's item 7. You have the aging second year and 4-year plan. Obviously, we're in year 2 of this plan. Hopefully you had an opportunity to read through this. If you haven't yet, I encourage you to kind of go through. It kind of outlines what our efforts were for this last year and kind of going forward. This last year was a little unique for our aging services, and it's reflective in the modifications to this plan. Is when we had COVID, obviously we had to shift kind of how we operate and how we do business. We had, every year we provide meals to our seniors throughout the county, through six of the centers on the reservation. We've got 68 clients throughout the county, and 56 of those are Native American. And as COVID kind of hit, we had to stop some of our in-home services. We went kind of more to a delivery system where we would deliver foods, goods, and even electronic visitation for our clients. And so we kind of had to shift our gears. Typically, in here it states that the aging services, they provided 9,790 congregate meals this year, which was a decrease of 6,349 meals, which we had, that's a significant decrease. But because of COVID, we didn't want to get out. There were a lot of donations that had gone through to our seniors throughout the county. which kind of help to provide them additional resources and additional food services and meals that were given through them through the community themselves. But with that, we did provide 35,905 home delivered meals, which grew by 17,314. And so it was kind of a shift between the congregate meals and actual home delivered meals. And then we also provided grocery shopping and delivery services to 78 clients throughout the county. And so that was kind of a unique where COVID, we didn't want the seniors going out shopping. And so we had them go out and shop, or we shopped for them. They just submitted a list to us and we went and got that for them. So there was 153 times that we did that shopping for a total of $3,500. And so you kind of see some unique adjustments due to COVID in this year's plan, but we continue to go forward on that 4-year goal and implementation of taking care of our seniors. Here pretty soon we'll also be opening some of our senior services for assistance trying to get back into a new COVID or after COVID normal. On item 8, you also have the approval of a small purchase of $7,131 for the purchase of remote fire equipment. This is equipment that will go directly on to a side-by-side to try to get into remote areas of the forest where our typical fire trucks wouldn't be able to get into. So this is equipment that would go on one of those side-by-sides to help assist with fighting fires and hopefully more preventative than anything else. That, Commissioner, is your 8 items on the consent agenda. Any questions?
Yes, Mac, back up to number 2. I see check register number and date. What are we paying for, and who are we paying for, and how much are we paying for, and why are we paying for, or is there a check coming in for us?
So there's these on the check registers. We don't track their revenue that's coming in weekly, but this is all of the bills that we pay throughout that period. You also receive an email that kind of shows the same thing as the bills that we paid. So during that period of time, you see some of the payments that we've made for child support services, some of our sheriff services, utilities, equipment operation, just random, just our various bills that we pay. Fuel purchases. A lot of our any insurance bill that we pay. If there's a reimbursement, a travel reimbursement, you'll see that on here from staff when we purchase food products, Office Depot, kind of our custodial supplies, kind of everything that we purchase has to go on the check register so everybody knows what we're spending county money on. It's either in a contract or it goes through check register.
All 3 commissioners
Okay.
get this from John David every couple of weeks so that we can look at each individual check.
John?
In that regards, what Mr. Maryboy, Commissioner Maryboy is alluding to, I believe, is payment being made to former employee or that has not been seen or reported to the commission in a long time. And there was a payment of $7,000 plus. There was made reported to the payouts. So that's the question that specifically outstanding, I guess, would say.
Do you know which payment it was? Or to who?
Mr. McNeely, Jerry McNeely.
Oh, so Jerry McNeely, he continues to work in Spanish Valley. We haven't had him report in, but he continues to help with Commissioner Adams. He continues to help with the Spanish Valley items on there. This is something that you had budgeted for this last year to continue those services. I think it's $12,000 in total that we pay him here. He also attends our AG meetings. And there we haven't had work sessions, and we're kind of in the mix between work sessions and regular just commission meetings, where we haven't had a work session to have him come in and report. And especially with COVID, if you remember, he doesn't have a computer to get in. And so we haven't had staff reports and items like he would typically come in the past and report in. And so yeah, you'll see that kind of every month until he's paid in full for the year.
Gosh, I didn't even know about that. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was something that you approved, and we kind of had a brief discussion when we kind of had his discussion as well as our marketing discussion kind of at the same time, where he's been able to provide that service and kind of a county liaison between the residents there in Spanish Valley, as well as kind of the BLM Forest Service, SITLA.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Marable.
Mr. Chair, I really feel uncomfortable in the report that Mr. McDonald's given us, and we're doing whatever we can to stay above water with our staffing and what's going on. And there's a lot of information that we try to compile those information to make things work for all of us. And if this is true and we have some issues with that particular area, nobody's made a report, but the community from there are always here trying to look for some answers. And it's kind of ludicrous to be throwing money into the darkness of not knowing who's getting it. So I made a motion earlier to approve item number 1, and the rest probably will follow. But I cannot recognize the item number 2. There's 3 of us, and if you guys want to vote for it, then it's totally up to you. I just don't feel comfortable in doing that. So motion made.
On there, so where these are the bills that have already been paid, that would be going out paying for his services. If there's a continuing concern with his services that he provides, he does have a contract with the county. And so we can either speak in executive session regarding the contract, or the services rendered in the future, but you would have to pay him for the services that he's rendered up to this point, and then we can kind of proceed in the future to discuss kind of offline what you'd like us to do with his services. Does that make sense?
I don't know. Willie's looking for ways to have somebody to keep in touch with those people that are providing any kind of services to work on the road from Ojado all the way up to Navajo Mountain. And we're looking for ways to how we can work with the Navajo Nation to start working on the roads. And we seem to be running out of people and resources to help us out. And we didn't know that we had somebody idling, and I don't know, either serving one commission or the county, or I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Chair. I feel very uncomfortable with that. So again, there's two of you, and if you wish to recognize that, it's totally up to you.
I would say to you that I would go ahead and consider Mr. McDonald's recommendation. And at the meeting, maybe in the, what do they call it, executive session?
Yeah, we can meet in this session to discuss.
Okay. Can we do it today or sometime the next meeting?
In the next meeting, where today you're electronic, that would, we wouldn't be able to meet in an executive session and just through the electronic means, but I can schedule it with you to discuss what we want to do with that.
Okay.
We can put it on the next agenda for discussion as well, or business action after that executive session. But all this is just, I mean, he's rendered those services, you know, he's provided those services through this time period where it expires on April 6th. That's April 20th. And so we would have to pay him for those services, but going forward, after you make an official decision, then you would stop those, but we would have to discuss that.
So,
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Can you state your question?
So my recommendation for me from the county administrator side would be to approve the check register today. Well, the services have already been rendered. We have to pay him for those. And so it would be a matter of the check registers not being valid. There's not an error on the check registers. And so my recommendation would be to approve. You pretty much, if you're okay with all of the other consent agenda items as well, it'd be making a motion to approve all the consent agenda items, and then I'll just take it back and we'll schedule an executive session for next commission meeting.
Did I understand, Mr. McDonald, that his contract is due to end April 20th? Today?
Correct.
Or is it 22?
There is a contract that you have with his services. It's an annual contract.
It doesn't end April 20th.
And it wouldn't, it's for the whole entire year. Commissioner Gray Eyes, and so that, and it's I believe the amount was $12,000 that we had budgeted for on that contract for the whole entire year. But I'll get all that information prepared for you.
I believe I asked for clarification on Mr. Boy's motion to be more specific in terms of is he supporting the recommendation that Mr. McDonald made?
Mr. Chair, I will take Mr. McDonald's recommendation, and at the same time, let's do an executive session whenever he can schedule that date and maybe review that and go over some of the contract and see what has been done and what needs to be done and what's going on with that contract.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Adams second it. No further discussion, so call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, aye also. 3 in favor. Any opposed? 0. It passed. Thank you. Next.
Okay, back to the consent agenda. I would just need a motion approving if all of those consent agenda items.
I make a motion. We approve the other consent agenda items.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. There's a second motion. And second, is there any question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also.
Okay,
Opposed? 0. Passed.
okay, Commissioner. See, you are on recognition, presentation, and informational items. The first one you have on here is the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands update and presentation. We have both Jason Johnson as well as Rudy Sandoval on here. They assist us throughout the year. We're thankful for all that they do for the county. They're kind of like an arm that you don't see of the county, that hidden arm, and we definitely appreciate their support. So I'll turn it over to Jason. I don't know if you're gonna, or Rudy.
Maybe I'll say hi and then I'll turn the time over to Rudy. So commissioners, thank you so much for having us come and speak. We usually try to do this a little later in the year, but fire season is coming early this year, unfortunately. I'm sort of getting tired of saying that every year and tired of watching trees die, but that's where we are. So I'm the area manager for the division. I cover the 4 counties in Southeast Utah. Rudy Sandoval is my fire management officer. He leads all of our fire staff and fire operations. And then Ryan MacArthur is your county fire warden. And unfortunately, he can't be with us today. He is in a training this week. So we have a few items we want to share by way of update and coordination, and I'm going to turn the time over to Rudy. He'll cover several things, and then he'll pass it back to you.
Before you turn the floor to Mr. Rudy Sandoval, question. I know this is state lands, but fire doesn't recognize boundaries on forest fire. I'm concerned for the Navajo Mountain area, the mountain subject to wildfire. Either a rainy day or not rainy day. So how can you assist?
Yeah, actually, why don't I speak to that? So I was going to speak to that a little bit later, but since you asked, we'll just bump it right up to the top. And so one of the things that we do is work on fuels reduction and wildfire risk reduction, and we do that several ways. We have a cooperative agreement with the county where we work with the county to reduce risk in a number of areas. And then we have what we call a wildland urban interface program. We have Duncan Fuchise, who is our WUI coordinator. He's doing a number of projects in the county. We're going to be doing some fuels work in the Peter Springs area this year. We are also did a bunch of winter pile burning in Johnson Creek and in Old LaSalle. We've applied for some grant money to do further work in Bluff. Now, you asked about Navajo Mountain, and the thing that I have in relation to that, so one of the things that we do is help communities prepare community wildfire preparedness plans. And in an earlier commission meeting, you asked about Navajo Mountain, and we committed to help the community develop a community wildfire preparedness plan, or a CWPP. And so oh shoot, I wish I could remember the name of the gentleman that we've worked with out there. Oh, it's not come to me. Anyway, I can get later. We did travel to Navajo Mountain, met with the community leader there. His name escapes me at the moment.
Hank Stevens.
Yeah, Hank Stevens. Sorry, thank you. We met with Hank Stevens. We got started down the path on that, and then the COVID happened, and we kind of backburnered that. But obviously right now we're coming out of COVID, and we're moving that back to the front burner. We're also working with Blanding and Bluff on CWPPs, and I can report as well that let's see, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we hired a new staffer to assist Duncan. And one of the things that she'll be focusing on are these CWPPs. So we will work with Navajo Mountain as well as Bluff and Blanding over the course of this summer to complete those community wildfire preparedness plan, so the community can identify the things that they need to do to address fire risk and what those resources are. And then there's a limited amount that we can do when it comes to on the ground, because of course Navajo Mountain's not in our jurisdiction, but we'll do everything that we can do within our authority to cooperate and move that forward and help the community to reduce their risk of wildfire.
Thank you. Are you able to coordinate with the Navajo Forest Service? Some years ago, we did a proposal for we set in excess fuel reduction plan. Their recommendation was to take a section at a time, but nevertheless, it probably put on the shelf. So there, nothing has precipitated from that request for action. Every
Right.
time I go during the day, whether it's raining or not raining, I look at the mountain and standing there without any protection. Some years ago, we had 2 or 3 fires, wildfire, on top of the mountain, and burned a considerable amount of acreage. And those trees that are burned, evidence of ashes have come through the spring. And then at the same time, the erosion set in on a lot of these areas, and there has not been any reforestation or replanting regarding the burnt area. So it surprised me that I don't know, the Navajo Forest Service has not taken a step forward to assist. So I'm reaching out to the off reservation. Maybe they can produce some plans, initiate kicking a plan and begin to do the fuel reduction. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I've made a note of what you mentioned about this earlier plan prepared by the Navajo Forest Service. So as we get back together with Hank, as we go into the spring and summer here, we'll definitely look for that. We'll look for any other additional planning that's been done, and we'll incorporate that. And I think you pointed out one of the challenges that we always have. You know, we do these plans and they're done with the best of the intentions, and the challenge is often making sure that that plan actually results in some actions on the ground, and not just, you know, doesn't just become something that sits on the shelf. So you know, as we go through that process with the community, we'll take that point in mind, and we'll address that and see what we can do. And of course, we'll definitely involve, you know, all the appropriate authorities from the Navajo Nation that have you know, that have jurisdiction out there.
Yes. Thank you very much. As you stated, as I stated before, that wildfire doesn't address jurisdiction. So it's like COVID. Spreads anywhere. Please. Thank you very much. I'll keep in touch, and my email address is willigrayeyes@yahoo.com. Grayeyes, GRAYEYES. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And you know, with your permission, I'd like to turn the time over to Rudy. He's got a few updates as far as your county fire warden and the upcoming fire season.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sandoval. You have the floor.
Hey, good morning, Commission. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
My name is Rudy Sandoval. I'm the area fire management officer for the southeast area, which Jason explained. I manage Carbon, Emery, Grand, and San Juan counties. My office is in Price, Utah, so that's where I'm attending your meeting at this morning. So, as Jason mentioned, Ryan McCarthy, your county fire warden, is unavailable to be with us today. He's actually in Provo this week. He's attending an FI 210 class, which is a National Wildland Coordinating Group class for fire investigation. He'll be taking that class for the rest of the week, so he can work towards becoming a wildland fire investigator for San Juan County, so we can start investigating some of these wildland fires in your county. He is also, since November, he's taken quite a few training classes to enhance his leadership, his incident command, and obviously to support and help the counties when we do have those fires down in San Juan counties, either on state or private land, Forest Service or BLM land. He took, we call them the leadership classes, so it's a L380 class. It's a fire line leadership. That will help him with his command presence, fire line leadership when he's on a fire. S219, firing operations. It's an operational assignment or training he took, so when he does go on these fires, he's more adverse at knowing firing operations in that process. An S260 class, that's an interagency incident business management, so he can actually, do the paperwork and the documentation for all the agencies. S390, that's a wildland fire calculations class. That's another operational class he took so he could be more aware of, the environment and everything that comes with fire environment, the dynamics that fire creates when there is a fire. Currently, Ryan is working on his Incident Commander Type 4 task book. He has one more assignment to do, then he will be qualified IC4 for the county, which enables him to manage a more complex fire environment in the county, for the county, and also with the feds, and collaborate that incident command with them. He's also currently working on an RXB3 task book, which is a prescribed fire task book. So in the winter months, we can actually do prescribed fire to reduce the fuel load in some of the communities, like Jason mentioned, and I think he'll talk about some more of that stuff. But to reduce the fuel loading in the counties, either broadcast or pile burning, when we do that work on the fuel side of what Ryan does in the winter months. And after he gets this FI 210 class that he's working on right now, I will open up a investigator task book, so he will actually become investigator qualified, so we can do those investigations. So in total, Ryan's taken about 162 hours of training since November. So he's done a lot of training to get to where we need him to be, so he can take on that leadership role for the county when it comes to wildland fire. Working with David Gallegos in San Juan County, and also all the rural fire departments you guys have out there. Next item. Jason mentioned a little bit about it. Drought conditions are pointing to another potentially dangerous fire season this year. There could be an early fire restriction going into place this year. So I will work with David and the county to coordinate that closure or that restriction if that does happen, due to the simple fact that we are in exceptional drought right now. We've already experienced several red flag days this year, which is exceptionally, historically it hasn't happened. And including today, we're in another red flag down in San Juan County. Currently, we have 3 human-caused fires and 1 vehicle fire in San Juan County this year already in April. So we're already started off to a busier than normal fire season down there in San Juan. With human-caused fires, the state of Utah will be doing a $3 million prevention campaign spread over the next 3 years in partnership with Bonneville Communications and the state legislature. They are funding this prevention campaign. So I will meet with our state prevention coordinator next week to go over prevention and how we're going to get that message to San Juan County, either through media blitz, prevention materials, or whatever we need to do to get that message out to San Juan County for human-caused fires, because we are seeing an increase of human-caused fires last year, and already this year we're already above normal. Next thing I'd like to talk about, things we're doing to help with the capacity, fire capacity in San Juan County. So just 2 weeks ago, Dave Gallegos took possession of a FEPP. It's a federal excess personal property. It's a piece of equipment that we loan out to the counties. He took on a 5-ton truck, and he will use that for a non-tactical water tender. I don't know where he's going to place that truck, but it's free of use to the county. There are some small stipulations to that truck, but I'm glad he took that on. It's a great truck. It's in really good condition. It runs well. So he's got that in his possession now, and I appreciate the San Juan County sent up their transport driver to Price to pick up that truck and deliver that down to David. We just, last March, we just completed a S-270. It's a basic air operations class that we offered to the county. A lot of the firefighters down there wanted that class, so we put that class on here in Moab, and that was a success. Ryan has completed several, actually 37 students. He's trained 37 students for annual fire line refresher classes. He's taught those 37 students in 5 different departments in San Juan County. So he's doing a lot of work there to keep and get these guys current with their qualifications. Blanding City has also done a RT 212. It's a wildfire chainsaw class. And there are other RT classes being offered here in the spring. So hopefully more of the volunteer departments can jump on that. One thing I think, going back to the drought conditions, I will send a link to the Great Basin seasonal outlook for April to July. I'll attach that link to this chat box so you guys can actually see. It's a 9-minute video. You guys can go look at it and see what the conditions are currently. It's not looking that great right at this point, so hopefully things turn for us. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not looking very good down in the southeast part of the state, or basically the whole state, really. But I'll attach that link, and also I'll attach another link to the Forestry, Fire, and State Lands website. There's a link on there for the UFDAG, this Utah Fire Department Assistance Grant. That grant is out now. It opened April 9th. And it expires May 21st. That's a fire department assistant grant, so the state can offer grant opportunities to counties and or rural fire departments to apply for grant, matching grants, so they can get wildland equipment to enhance their capabilities in the county. So something myself, the warden, and Dave Gallegos will be working on if the San Juan County is willing to apply for that grant. We could help them and assist them with that process. I know it's a lot. If you guys have any questions, I'll take those now. If not, you can call me directly and we can talk about more of these in specific.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sandoval. Can you go back to the last item? Utah assistant for regarding the grant.
Yeah, so the Utah Fire Department Assistant Grant is a grant that's funded by the state of Utah, Forest Service, and BLM. They give grant dollars to communities, or not to communities, but to rural departments to enhance their training, their capabilities and equipment for wildland fire in the state of Utah. The priority for that grant is, first priority is PPE, personal protective equipment, and then they go into training, and then they'll go into equipment. But priority is the PPE and training. So they want to focus on that. So that grant's available. It's a good grant. I think in years past, I think the max was $25,000. So it helps. It's not a whole bunch of money, but it helps the departments get on their feet and get those needed items from this grant. And those grant dollars, can be used not hard dollars, not cash, they can use those as in-kind training hours for those dollars. So it's not really any dollars out of your pockets. It can be used and leveraged for training and or other activities.
Okay. Have a link, grant, linkage, or grant application information?
Yeah, I'll send that link out to you guys, and it'll show you the process of how to go about getting that grant or applying for that grant.
Okay, good.
Like I say, it's open on April 9th and it closes on May 21st. It's a short period, a grant period, but it's like only a 4-page document, pretty easy to fill out. But I can help David or whoever fill out that grant if wanted, if needed.
Okay, good.
And then I'll turn the time over to Jason. He's got a couple other things we'd like to talk about.
If that's okay, if we have enough time.
We have probably all day. So.
I'll try to be brief and just hit the most important part. So there are two subjects that I want to touch on before we're done here. One is just to mention some items from the legislative session that affect the county and affect what we do and that may be of interest to you. The wildfire prevention campaign was already mentioned, so that's a big deal. That's a lot of money to spend, and we're going to push hard to make sure that that's coordinated down to the county level, so that this is not just a big statewide blast, but that some of this gets targeted to specific areas like the local county. So mention that. Another thing that the legislature did is we have a partnership between the state of Utah and the Forest Service called Shared Stewardship, and it's a unique thing, and it's aimed at targeting dollars to get work done. So there's a lot of work that's been planned, on national forest land in particular, and this is aimed at just pushing that stuff across the finish line. And so the legislature appropriated $1.5 million there, and that's being matched by $4 million from the Forest Service for this year. Recently, I was part of a ranking committee that ranked proposed projects from around the state. One of them that was funded was a proposal from the Manti-La Salle National Forest to do some work on the Mill and Pack Creek watersheds in both Grand and San Juan County. And that looks like that made the funding list for this year. So that's a good thing. And that's going to be a program that's going to continue for a couple more years. One other legislative item was a bill called HB 65, which did a number of things. One of them was appropriated money to update the URAP platform, which is used to assess wildfire risk. I can send a link to that. And it's used in the cooperative wildfire system that the county participates in. So that allowed update of the underlying data and ongoing maintenance of that, and they're already hard at work on that. The other thing that HB 65 did is it appropriates dollars to raise firefighter pay around the state, and mandates that we do an analysis comparing the pay of our firefighters to the federal firefighters and the local professional fire departments. Rudy talked a little bit about what we've invested in your warden, Ryan MacArthur, in improving his qualifications, improving his skills, improving his ability to serve the county and the state. And I think part of the concern that the legislator that introduced this from up in Cache County is that we want to be able to hold on to those guys. We put a lot of time and money into training them and developing them, and we don't want to lose them. The sort of asterisk on this is that the county fire warden, half of their compensation comes from the county. And so after this analysis is done and a proposal's made for what the pay ranges will be, we will work closely with the county on, in a discussion on this. And part of what's been made very clear is that this is not going to be an automatic thing, and the counties will have to get the county's buy-in before moving forward with this in any specific county. So as we hear more on that, as that goes forward on the statewide level, and as we get some guidance on that from Salt Lake, we'll be continuing in dialogue with the county, with all of our counties, and we'll be updating you on that. One last thing from the legislative session, and this leads me into the last subject that I wanted to talk about. So the legislature appropriated dollars to hire an attorney that will focus on wildfire cost recovery. And so we have a lot of human-caused fires where people are at fault or negligent, or sometimes it's arson. And we've had a mixed level of success at collecting on those and recovering those dollars. And so this will be a tremendous help to the state and to the counties, because a lot of the county fires, the bigger ones, end up being delegated to the state. And then, we both have skin in the game on that. In San Juan County, we're moving forward on trying to collect on 2 fires from last year. One was the Alkali Ridge fire down, on Alkali Ridge, and the other is the Doe Canyon fire near LaSalle. And so we're continuing to push that forward with our statewide cost recovery person. But as a bigger picture thing that I wanted to bring before this group is I think that it would be helpful to have some sort of a meeting where we can sort of put our heads together as Forestry Fire State Lands, the county, the sheriff's office, the county attorney, and talk about what we can do to be more consistent about the way we approach these human-caused fires, and as far as citing individuals and things like that, so that when we go and try to recover those costs, that we can be successful, because that affects the bottom line both for the state and for the county. If we can recover those costs, then that improves that situation. So I wanted to put that out there and put that on your radar. And I'll be happy to take questions, and I thank you for your patience. I think it took us longer than we anticipated to get through these items and share them with you.
Okay, thank you. One of the recommendations, the jurisdiction is always the block and box for all the impacts or the planning for or appropriation of dollars from the state, from the county, and it leaves a blank for the Indian country. I wonder if some type of understanding can be created from the governor's office to address those types of situations where similar conditions or impacts can be jointly addressed without having to go through governmental bodies? Is it possible to do some type of a joint agreement?
Yes, and it gets a little complex in San Juan County because the way fire coordination is divided up, the southern part of the county is in a different area out of Arizona than all the rest of the state. But we do have a statewide cooperative agreement, and we have a statewide coordinating committee that involves all of the federal agencies and the state of Utah. And that includes the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And then in our local dispatch coordinating group, we have a biannual, twice a year coordinating meeting of the administrators. So I sit on that, and then our FMOs participate. And we invite the representatives from the Navajo Nation and also the Ute tribe to participate in that. So we have opportunities for coordination there, and that statewide master agreement does help us navigate these multi-jurisdictional fires and divide up the cost, divide up the responsibilities while respecting the different jurisdictions. And so if you'd like, I could, I could send you a copy of that. And, you know, if we want to dig more into some of the specifics of what your concerns are, maybe we could, you know, have some sort of work meeting, or you could run those questions through David Gallegos or through Mac, and then I can address them in writing or however you'd like.
The last questions I have is it, let's say, for example, Navajo Mountain does get experience wildfire. Will the state and the county immediately, without question, address suppressing the wildfire on Navajo Mountain, according in accordance with the cooperative agreement? Is that possible?
I think Rudy, do you want me to go ahead and answer that, Rudy? Or do you want to answer that? So I can't speak for the county. So the way it works with the state, we wouldn't self-dispatch out there because that's not our jurisdiction. If the dispatch center that is there requests us, then we would honor that request. Now, as far as resources that are specific to the county, I can't answer that, right? They don't answer to, they are not my resources. They don't answer to me. So that would be a question for your county fire folks.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Commissioner Variable.
I'm here.
You have a question?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Adams?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Do we accept that individual report or presentation?
No,
Mr. McDonald.
no, you're fine. That was just a an update and
Okay.
presentation. I appreciate them coming in and giving us that.
Yes,
So
thank you.
let's see.
Next would be payroll shift to biweekly payday presentation.
Okay, so yeah, we're on item number 10. This presentation, we'll turn it over to Anne Marie to kind of give an explanation of what we were thinking. All of these items pretty much are discussion until we get to item number 12.
Good, right there. Hello, commissioners.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is standardize payroll across all of the county employees. Right now, between 20 and 25% of the county employees are already on biweekly payroll. So we're trying to standardize that, make it the same for everybody. Looks like the best time to make this shift would be between June and July, because we want to do it on a 3 paycheck month. And July and December are 3 paycheck months this year. So just kind of want to put it out there. That's what we want to do. Any discussion you guys want to have?
Floor is open.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mary.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation. You know, I really feel for the workers, and I think the slavery days are over. And these people, the frontline workers, and they do whatever they can to provide food for the family. And however they feel comfortable in doing what they do for the county and for us, I would recommend that I leave this in their hand and have it worked it out. We just barely heard from an individual from the road department that doesn't seem to be agreeable to what's being recommended. And I had several calls too. And if Ann feels that there is a better way of making payments to those workers, I don't have any problem with that. But it's their pay. They're the one that has to take these money home, and they have schedules of making their payments on whatever they pay for. And like they say, the majority rules. If we can go to all of the departments and see what they say, maybe do a little survey. And right now, I don't feel comfortable in shoving something down somebody's throat that don't like the taste of what's there. So maybe if they have a better understanding that a biweekly might work, or maybe they have an understanding and monthly payment might work. So I would recommend that Ann and Mac maybe meet with the staff and get some ideas of what they want. I would move on whatever they think would be best fit for them. Like I said, they've gone through a lot, and they've been frontline people for the community of San Juan County, and they've taken a lot of risks, and they work really hard, and some of them been working hard without no pay raise due to the fact of the cost of living. So I would recommend that this particular item be taken back and work with the staff, and let's see if we can come up with something that would be best fit for the majority of what they want. Or maybe we can have two type of payment, one a monthly and one be biweekly. But let's see what happens. I think that pretty much stands in Mac and Ann right at this point in time. So that would be my recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any others? Comment?
So on there, just to kind of fill in addition to that, so why we have it before you today is mostly to bring to your attention that we will be discussing the possibility of this transition. We wanted to get it to you to kind of get your guys' ideas to see if you were okay with it or had any objections to proceeding with the next steps going forward. And that's why we kind of put it out there until June. The other opportunity to do it is in, July or
December.
December. So we've got several months now that we'll be making our rounds and speaking to employees. Part of this is in the past, kind of the way that this works out is the county upfronts funds to employees. And if employees terminate early, the county would be on the hook trying to get money back from employees that terminate or leave the county by pushing it out into a bi-weekly schedule. Then through that system, and this is where we need to catch up, this is where it impacts the employees, is trying to figure out how to do so in a manner to where they're now, if they terminate, there was still an expectation that they would receive a county check offset by 2 weeks. And so trying to figure out how to get this 2-week offset. The county upfront the cost for the 2-week upfront, or do we take it out of their time? A lot of employees have sick leave or long-term sick that they like to bank. If they're banking that, then there's an opportunity we can catch up those 2 weeks in that using vacation or long-term sick leave, so that they're not. The biggest purpose and the whole point of it is to make sure that our employees aren't out of money, but that we're setting a structure in place to where the county isn't float payments to our employees, and the employees in the end are made whole. And so we'll definitely continue forward and have some open discussions and dialogue with the employees, but where all of the new employees that we bring online are on a 2-week system. And if you on the reimbursements as well, this kind of helps with reimbursements and you guys have seen it as well on, as you travel and you put money on your credit cards, you pretty much have to wait a month in order to get that back on your pay stub. And so this will help avoid some of that with the transition of pay. And then also with that, this whole entire system, this also involves a time tracking. The county, we haven't had a time tracking system in the county, and there's several departments that we have noticed. We've talked to department heads who are struggling with kind of a time and attendance issue within their departments. And so this system will also allow us to start doing time and attendance where appropriately. Not all of our employees are going to be on it or going to be able to have access to a computer to do a time and attendance system, but for those that can, we can migrate over onto a system that will help monitor and just kind of bring employees a little bit truer to their time and attendance. So this is kind of all bolted into one, but we wanted to let you know beforehand that we would be having these discussions going forward and try to work out what's best for the county and probably most efficient as well.
Okay. Any further comments?
I think this item under the agenda was informational only, wasn't intended to make a decision or take a vote on today.
Okay. I think, did I hear correct? Anne Marie indicated this was only 25% of the staff.
Yeah, between 20 and 25% of the staff is already on the biweekly payroll.
Oh, okay. There has not been any assessment to determine the percentage.
So there are 41 employees who are currently on biweekly payroll, and our staff fluctuates anywhere between 185, 190 that are employed by the county. And so that would put it between 20 and 25% based on how many people are here.
So, I think we still have time. I think this would go well with the fiscal year plan. Number two, my recommendation would be to totally assess the staff as to determine the course of action. So they don't feel that you're being dictated. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, the next one is,
Okay.
unless you have any more questions.
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go
so
to 11.
yeah, number 11, on March 12th, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act, which updates our COVID-19 emergency paid sick leave and emergency FMLA policies, just to say that employees can take emergency paid sick leave for reasons related to COVID vaccination, including time off to get that vaccine or to recover from any side effects. They can also use it for diagnosis of COVID-19 or waiting for test results, or to take care of someone who has been diagnosed with COVID-19. So as of April 1st, all employees are eligible for a new 2-week leave bank that is good through September 30th. So that means full-time employees are eligible for 80 hours of COVID leave or emergency paid sick leave. And any part-time employees are eligible for a prorated, whatever they work weekly, they get 2 weeks worth of that paid emergency paid sick leave. So that was effective, signed by President Biden on March 12th, effective April 1st.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Next.
All right. So the next one on your agenda, this one is a letter of support. So this item here, let me move everything, is for the victims of the Males Tailing Exposure Cancer Screening Program. This is a program that the county had here years ago when the county was still under Southeastern Utah District Health Department. This is for regular cancer screening for San Juan County residents who lived or worked in Monticello between 1942 and 2000. Even if they moved out of the area, and they can attribute residency back to the county within those years, they were still eligible for this. It was handled under the RESET program, the Radiation Exposure Screening and Education Program. You may be super familiar with that program if you've ever seen anybody apply for the Downwinders cancer screening program. So this, a little bit different than the RESET program. The Utah Navajo Healthcare System continues to provide the RESET program here in the county, but there's nothing that we provide outside of the Utah Navajo Healthcare System. And so we would like to get that back going again, and especially offering that pre-cancer screening up front to our residents here, even if it's outside of the Utah Navajo Health System. The request is for, and you see the letter of support in here. We're working with Congressman Curtis's staff for the funding and putting an application for around $515,952. The difficulty with this, it's a one-time appropriation only valid for a year. That makes it a little bit harder, which is kind of what led us to the problem in the first place. Is once we took over and formed our own public health department, there was nobody here in the county that applied for the funds or for the cancer screening, so it just kind of fell off the radar. And we've been working with the organization. It's the Victims of Mill Tailings Exposure Committee here in the county. They had originally lobbied Congress to get the initial funding for this program, and have kind of continued it forward, and had recognized when the funding lapsed that there was a need to reapply for this. And so that's kind of what this funding is. At the time when they were going through the southeastern Utah and offering these cancer screening services, there are around 950 clients registered and qualified for that preventative screenings. We think it's more than that now. We've lost sight of how many individuals would actually take part and participate in those pre-cancer screenings. And so we'd like to get that going again. I'm asking for just your approval of the support letter that will go back out to Congressman Curtis's office, as well as the U.S. Congress and Senate, hoping that they will provide additional funding for that. It's super important when we look at pre-cancer screening. Well, you think of a patient that goes through cancer in general, they can tally up a bill easily over $150,000. And so the more prevention that you can get up front on the screenings and try to catch it early, the less costly fighting cancer is for our patients and for our community residents. Statistically, we're still seeing abnormal and higher than usual numbers of individuals with cancer, especially within our population, that may have not necessarily like a skin cancer, but a lung cancer as well. If it actually scans for more than just the normal cancers that the downwinders provides for, it actually covers kind of a broad depth of cancer screening possibilities. So what this would be is to reestablish the program here in the county under our public health, and it's something that we'll have to work with our public health board to develop a little bit further. But we would then, if we do get the funds for this, we'll be able to have the funds to administer the program. So there's the potential for additional employees. We would need somebody to market this program to our citizens and kind of do the constant reminders that this program is now available in the county, and then that administration of the program overall, offering rides to senior citizens or whatever the case is for the free cancer screenings, as well as working with those that live either out of town, out of state, who will want their pre-cancer screening vouchers to go forward. It's who's going to mail that to them and make sure that they have the appropriate appointments set up, and that that appropriate coverage is made and handled through the county. So it'll be a little bit more work on our end, but it's definitely something worthwhile to have where we've had it in the past. It's just trying to get that going back again to make sure we're on a public health standpoint, that we're meeting the needs of our citizens here in the county. So other than that, any questions that you have for me with this program or the letter of support?
Can you, the No, what does, I can only see fiscal impact on it, so maybe you can pick it up.
On the screen,
Yeah,
how's that? Can you see that now?
right. So we're requesting recommended 400,000.
So all I'm requesting today is just the approval of the letter of support to establish the program and request the funds. The funds that we will request them add onto a one-time allocation line item is $515,952.
Sounds good. Any motion?
I make a motion, we approve the signature on the letter.
Second?
Second,
Is there a second?
second,
Okay, we have, I think it's pretty well understood now. Go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye also. 3-0 opposed. Pass. Next.
Okay, the next one is the subdivision approvals. This will be, let's see, Scott will give you an overview of the next, I think it's the 4 items. 3, 4, 3. So turn it over to Scott.
All right, so for your consideration and approval, we've got this item is for the Flatiron Mesa Ranch subdivision. This is phase 26. So this phase is 2 lots. Parcel 39 and parcel 40. Both of them are over 10 acres. One's 10 and 3/4, and one's 12. So large subdivisions. This is located Flatiron Mesa Ranch. We've done several of these subdivisions. They're located just a little bit north of LaSalle Junction, off on the left off Flatiron Mesa Road. So. We're doing both phase 26 and 27. So that's probably my separate motion for your approval.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayorboy.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for item number 13 and 14.
Okay.
I'll make a second.
All right, Mr. Adams, second the motion for Mr. Mayorboy's motion to approve 13 and 14 item 13 and 14. Second by Mr. Bruce Adams. Any question? There be none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Okay, aye also. 3-0 opposed. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 13 and 14 hereby passed. Next.
All right, we've also got item 15 is an amendment number 2. This is to lot 38. of the San Juan Estates Subdivision Phase 3. This takes an acre subdivision within the San Juan Estates Phase 3 and just subdivides it into 4 quarter-acre lots. This was presented to the Planning Commission at their last meeting. There was some discussion about setbacks and lot sizes and things, and they did pass this. The Planning Commission passed this, and so it's for your consideration and approval today as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bruce Adams and second by Mr. Maryville. Question? Comment? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye also. 3 ayes, opposed, 0. Motion passed.
Okay. So the next item on your agenda is a resolution indicating support for the Moab and Spanish Valley Regional Transportation Plan. Last commission meeting, I brought to you that plan summary, and just a lot of it was to notify the public that it was online. They were able to comment on that. Primarily our portion on this was just the frontage there in Spanish Valley. Since we had met, there's just been some changes with the plan, not necessarily in our county. The town of Moab, so Moab and Grand County, just wanted it noted in there that they really politically weren't supporting the bypass that was mentioned in the study. But I think UDOT is keeping that information in there, although it's not supported, it's not going to be funded. It's not really on the immediate radar for anybody. They put it on there and just made note that at this time there's no working, there's no in-place workings of putting a bypass through there, but it may happen in the future. And so they just noted that in the study itself. It really doesn't affect us or our side of it. Ours is still kind of remaining. Everybody that we speak to is pretty much in favor of that frontage road along 191 there in Spanish Valley. And so that's what this resolution is, just supporting that plan and the finalization of that plan.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Adams. Any second?
Second. Any impacted community there to speak to the issue?
We don't have a lot of people on here. It's mostly staff, looks like. Liz is on here. I don't see.
Call for question on the motion.
All those in favor say yes. Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
Two ayes. One abstain. Zero opposed.
Okay,
Okay, next.
the next item on the agenda, let's see, let me get back to the agenda, make sure what number we're on. So you're on item 17. This is consideration of approval of a quitclaim deed transferring alleys of the town of Bluff, Utah from San Juan County to the town of Bluff. We kind of started down this road pre-COVID, so a little over a year ago, getting everything prepared to transfer these alleyways over to the town of Bluff. I probably have a handful of requests from residents within the town of Bluff that wanted us to deed over certain portions of the alleyway to the private property owners. I held on to those throughout this COVID time, knowing that really, and just kind of looking at the law, one of the things that we found out is when the town of Bluff annexed, the county should really never kept these. We couldn't find a purpose for that. I know that there's been several properties in the past where we've deeded certain portions of the alleyway over to the residents. And so I feel that this is best in the hands of the town where they know what their needs are. They'll be able to also manage this process. If there's people that want access to those alleys, they'll be able to do with what the town plans in general with alleyways. And so I know that when you look at a development scheme, a lot of cities and towns like to keep their alleys because it's a great resource for infrastructure, whether it's water, sewer, connections, gas, but also fire access. It provides a means for emergency access as well. And I'm not necessarily saying that happens here in the town of Bluff, but to me, it's something that you look for in a development scheme. You have in here the Exhibit B of all of the alleyways that are included in this transfer and this process. And so we do have the mayor. She's been hanging online. I appreciate her patience as we get to the item, but she's on as well if you have any questions for Mayor Lebanon.
Mayor,
Yes.
you're on. You have the floor.
Well, as I've been talking with Mac McDonald, when we incorporated in August of 2018, with that incorporation came the alleys. And specifically those alleys that had not been previously vacated or deeded over to individuals. So when Mac and I were going back and forth, I reached out to the Lieutenant Governor's office to be sure that I was on the right track. And yes, the Lieutenant Governor's office on September 10th of 2020 said the alleys go with the incorporated town. So then it was a matter of trying to get the process in place. I know that there are property owners who are interested in having their alleys vacated, but again, I'd like to echo what Mac has said. Some of these alleyways that people are camped out on prohibit fire trucks and emergency vehicles from going down through there. So the town as a whole, our idea is to take a look at all the alleys that Bluff has, figure out a policy, and then implement that policy. But we really can't do anything without that deed transferring the legal chain of title to us, and that's why this is on the agenda now. I'd also just like to add that I started down this path with Kelly Pearson prior to him leaving, and then I didn't put it on the forefront with David Everett because I knew he was interim, but like Max said, we've been talking about it for quite a while.
Okay.
I guess I'd just like to know if there's been any incidents or any blocking of the alleyways to any emergency vehicles in the past?
There are. There's one entire block where about 2/3 of it is blocked by personal property that's been left there, vehicles, what I would refer to as abandoned property. There's at least one block that I'm specifically aware of. I know of a couple of property owners who've put partial buildings on the alleys that they do not own.
Okay. Any other comments?
Maybe one other comment. Mayor, is there any present conflict going on between property owners in the city in this area?
In the area that I just specifically described, Commissioner Adams?
I'm looking at the Cottonwood addition that is platted with the county that shows the alleys.
I have not been given any information that Mac might have, but personally, I know of at least 2 property owner disputes. Yes.
And are these disputes that people are trying to use the alleyways for their personal use, or can you give us a little detail?
Well, one is rather complex in that the question is whether or not the property at issue is an alley versus a Class C road. And we're trying to resolve that issue. I believe the ownership issue was resolved between the property owners getting together and meeting. The question now is whether that should be opened up as a Class C road because it's blocked by a gate. The other is something that a previous county commission took action on a very, it looks to me like probably a piece of property that's about a block large, a bluff cottonwood block. So that would be 6 lots approximately. And there was some action by a previous county commission to vacate that alley, except that that alley included what was then a Class B road. And that was never followed through with by that commission or the previous property owner. And that's something that Bluff would be resolving as well. There may be more clashes, but most of what I've been hearing are people who've built or obstructed their alley and they'd now like it to be their own.
I know that the county did receive one of the requests from property owners in that Cottonwood area, but it was mainly the request to deed those alleyways, those portional alleyways over to them. They're one of them that we want to.
Mac?
Yeah, Commissioner, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, is this related to the previous legislation that the legislator were passing? There were certain parts, alleyways and areas to have the state have a control over them, or the town itself has control over why and how it needs to be made that? Is this a part of that?
What we're trying to do is get them deeded over to the town, so they can control and operate that. Kind of like the mayor had mentioned originally when they annexed, this was in annexation. And I wasn't here at the time. I can't speak for why they weren't included in the original. So it's catching up with that. not aware of any legislation that comes out specific for this.
So there's two property owners that's against it. Is that what I heard from the mayor?
In dispute, I think you'll have multiple chances. We're aware of buildings that have been built on the property lines, things like that. If these were under the county control, continue to be under county control, that the county at some point is going to have to resolve by transferring the town, then the mayor and the council can. So it's going to be a headache for her, and she's fully aware of this. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for a while.
Okay. Well, you heard comments. Is there a motion to approve it or disapprove it? I think the City of Bluff wants the control. So I would recommend giving it approval.
Well, Mr. Chair, Bluff, the town of Bluff, my hometown, and the idea sounds really good, and I think some kind of a control needs to happen. But to me, I would like to hear what the oppositions are and why the other two is not in favor in having a control overseeing these alleys.
If I might speak to that. If I might speak to that, the issue.
Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. The issue, Commissioner Mary Boy, isn't that the property owners are opposed to the town taking control and managing it. They want someone to take control and manage it. And these disputes are just sitting. There is no opposition that I am aware of by anybody, either in writing, in voice, in conversation, that has been opposed to Bluff managing what they already have in the incorporated boundaries.
All right.
I think that's the same with the county. We haven't received necessarily opposition. There's requests for ownership of that, those certain alleyways, so they'd be able to extend their property into the alleyway. We've received those requests, but nothing really in dispute. The only thing that I could think of that may be contested would be possibly the water district, but I'm not certain. Just rumblings of the water district that they would want them for infrastructure, but they can definitely petition the town for assistance with the infrastructure of water, sewer, and gas.
Well, I'm looking at my monitor and it looks like Bruce is jumping up and down, so I guess I'll wait for his motion.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering if this particular action requires any kind of a public hearing for those property owners in that Cottonwood subdivision to have an opportunity to speak to the issue.
Mayor
Yeah.
or Mr. Vidal?
I am unaware of the need for any kind of public hearing to be able to do this. I want to make it clear, commissioners, Bluff already has those alleys legally. It's the transfer of the chain of title that we're talking about. And I believe if you talk with your county attorney, he would offer the same opinion that I have from the lieutenant governor and from our attorney. Those came with incorporation. You're simply approving the deed so that the town can exercise its legitimate control over those alleys in terms of making decisions.
Well, maybe we need an opinion from the county attorney, because I'm not comfortable at making a decision concerning the alleyways on private property is as transparent as maybe the mayor thinks it is.
And if I might be heard, the alleys were deeded to the Cottonwood subdivision to the county as public pieces of property. So while they do cross through private property, they are public pieces of land that were deeded for the public good. That's noted on the plat map.
Then a recommendation from the county attorney to the commission sounds very appropriate.
Is the county attorney on board? Back?
He had mentioned he was going to be here. I'm not seeing him on right now
Oh, boy.
on this one. Hey, Kendall, are you there? I know just originally in the letter, working with this several months ago, Kendall had mentioned that we shouldn't have them, but that was in an email to me that kind of helped start this process. He went through so all of our contracts and items like this go through the county attorney, and he approved everything as to form on here. If he would have had objections, he would have objected to them on the system, and there's no objections for it.
With that information, if I may, move to approve this good title to Bluff, City of Bluff.
Motion.
I need a second. I motion.
Willie, you might want to second it. I'm going to vote against it.
Okay, go ahead. I'll recognize Mr. Maryboy. I guess he didn't understand it. I'll go ahead and second his motion. So with that, call for all those in favor say aye.
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 Mr. Chair.
We're voting.
Yeah, we already voted. There's only two of us.
Yeah, Commissioner Adams.
No, I vote.
Opposed?
I'm willing to vote.
So there's a motion by Mr. Maryboy, second by myself, The vote is 2 in favor. Is there opposed
I oppose.
to the motion? Okay. 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Next,
Oh,
Okay. The next item is consideration and approval of a quit claim deed, quit claiming a 0.08 acre parcel of county property to the city of Blanding. This one here is a small piece of property in Blanding that's right in the middle of the road. Blanding has ownership of the parcels adjacent to ours. Our piece just kind of stems across the street and into somebody's yard. Blanding had mentioned in the future they'll take care of that yard. If you notice, it seems like a lot of the parcels and ownership of those properties are to the center of the street, which is typical. And so they'll work on that future deed to that resident, hopefully. But for now, there really isn't a need for the county to have ownership of that little piece. I don't know if we owned property in there in the past, but there's nothing there for us.
motion.
Second.
okay.
Call for the question.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. 3 in favor, opposed 0. Back to the trails. Next,
Okay, the next one is we need a motion to enter into the Board of Equalization.
Motion to go into Board of Equalization.
Second.
okay. Motion by Mr. Maryboy to enter into Equalization Board meeting. Second by Mr. Adams. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, also 3. Opposed 0. We're now on the equalization. So
Okay,
give
so
us the detail.
you have consideration of 2 separate property tax abatements for Michael Anthony Bullock, it looks like, who's Rick Meyer, or Rick, are you presenting this one?
No, John David,
John David, okay.
but I would like to comment.
Okay, so we've got 2 people get a comment on this, so you're gonna be presented by John David, our clerk auditor, and then Rick Meyer, our assessor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So we have a couple of parcels that are under the name of Anthony Michael Bullock, and there are some back taxes on these parcels. He is requesting that the penalty and interest amounts on both these parcels be forgiven. The properties were in, well, they're also in his mother's name, who was ill and had dementia, and the notices were being mailed to her, so they really weren't getting through, and that is why the taxes are delinquent. She has since passed away, and the mailing address has been changed, so it is going to him now, and he's willing to pay the back taxes. He was just wondering if, because of the circumstances, that the penalty and interest could be waived in this case. The amount for both parcels, penalty and interest, let's see, is $224, And that's both of those properties combined.
You have heard the request. What's the board's decision? Need a motion?
Motion.
Did you want to talk, Rick?
We were gonna go out and look at this property this afternoon, Greg Adams and I, and reassess. And it could be a different property. I've got a Johnny Bullock. Is that what you have, John David?
No, Anthony Michael Bullock.
Anthony Michael.
So it could be
Okay.
a person.
Okay. So, I don't have any comments on that one.
Okay.
We are gonna do another property under the Bullock's name. So, commissioners.
I vote on.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we come out of the Board of Equalization.
Second.
Okay. Any long discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 I'll make a
Aye.
we grant the request to cancel the penalties and interest on both properties for Anthony Michael Bullock.
Mr. Adams' motion to grant a request to waive the amount of the assessment plus interest for both parcel.
Well, it's just the penalties and interest. They still have to pay the taxes, but they don't have to pay the penalty.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Just the penalty.
And interest. Yeah,
Administrator.
yeah, Commissioner.
And interest.
Yeah.
Only. Okay.
Where,
Is there a second?
before that, let me ask Matt. Where does that leave us? If we waive this, is this going to open up the door to waive others along the way?
It certainly could. If there's,
We've done that before.
if property owners can justify why, they were late and mitigate payments with you, you can certainly do that. This is something that you see standard kind of across the board, whether it's a veteran type abatement or, here you're looking at $224.29 in penalties and interest that you're leaving. So it's not like it's a substantial amount, but you have certainly done this before. It gives property owners a right to come in and opportunity to kind of plead their case of why they're late on their taxes to try to get that forbearance. This last year you did a considerable one with the mine, where we worked with them. You've seen smaller parcels come in as well to offset some of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in the commission.
Well, with that,
I'm in the commission meeting.
also,
I'll call you back. All right, bye.
Oh, I was lost there. Sorry. So, Commissioner Marigoy, did that answer your question?
with that information, along with us being going through these crises with the pandemic and other issues. I would second the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion just to pay the amount of checks only, approving waiver of outstanding checks, I guess. What's second by Mr. Bearboy? No more comment, so we will go ahead and vote.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3 ayes opposed. Say 0. Pass. Next.
Next item on your agenda, Commissioner, is the commission reports.
Okay, reports, anybody?
I don't have a whole lot of report, Commissioner Chairman, but I will say that I will be continuing to check the roads and also continuing to throw pebbles to our nation to see if anybody would look our way to make sure that that our roads are being graded. So far, none of the roads are being graded except for the ones that we were doing. But other than that, the nation is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. It's getting really frustrating. And that's the extent of my report, and I will continue to do that.
Okay. Mr. Adams?
I have a national broadband task force meeting at 12 o'clock on Thursday. And just been attending some of the online UAC, USIP, CIB meetings with the state, and had one with the professional practices UAC committee this morning and from 10 to 11. And other than that, I'm just staying close to home.
Okay. Well, for me, this I was on my way this morning. I had a flat tire. The rubber itself almost, well, it did come off. So I bought those tires in state of Utah. And I have to go to New Mexico and buy the tires, see how long they last compared. Anyway, that's why I'm not there on my way. Anyway, the 29th is a pretty exciting day for not just on Navajo Mountain. And I just on the hutch invited the lieutenant governor, and she responded. She will be there to for the meeting and also for the tour. I hope So if anybody has an issue or matters they want to discuss, she'll be there to all ears, I believe. And I also written a request for a meeting with the president, Mr. Garrett Silversmith, and also with the Ricky Ness, chairman of the Resource and Development Committee of Navajo Nation, Navajo Tribal Council. So I haven't heard anything. I might have, but I missed a call from Mr. Davis Filford. So we'll be in contact again, waiting for them to set up a date, a request for a meeting. So hoping to discuss some of the major projects that we are undertaking at the mountain. So 29th will be a good day for a meeting of the 7 County Infrastructure Board, and also like to thank Mr. Adams for his I believe CIP committee board meeting, also appropriated monies for, I don't know how long it's been going on, but he has supported a 7 County Infrastructure Coalition for with funds. So thank you. And other than that, it's just staying low, and hopefully the COVID-19 does get lifted. Hopefully it'll be done through our faith and belief. So we don't practice those, then we're still continue to be subject to those effects. Thank you very much. With that, what do we have next on the item?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a second and just remind Willie to shoot low the riding Shetland ponies.
They're easy to get on, but they can easily go through your disappear from under you. Mr. Bruce Adams, good. All those in favor of the adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. 3 in favor. Opposed, 0. And the time is, I don't know what time it is now.
1:28.
12:28 or 1:28? 1:28.
28.
Thank you all.
Thank
guys
you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Oh, Commissioner Gray, can we
Bye.
as well?
Here. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.